Hi, my name is Tyler. I'm a personal finance enthusiast, and today we're going over everything you need to know about checking accounts. This video covers several long topics in depth. Feel free to use the chapters in the video to skip to the information that you're looking for. Checking accounts are the main account that you should use to run your financial life. It's where you should deposit your paycheck and pay all of your bills from. Think of your checking account as a revolving door. It's a money in, money out type of account. Whatever comes in is probably also leaving that account at some point. You can typically do three things with money. You can spend it, save it, or give it away, and your checking account is going to be the first stop for your money on its way to do one of those three things, but it's never going to be the ultimate destination. It'll either get spent out of your checking account, get sent to a savings account, or get given away out of your checking account. It's a place where you process and then distribute all of your income so that it can go work hard for you in other places. So checking accounts are a great account for your monthly or weekly, whenever your paycheck comes in, that interval of giving and spending money, covering your groceries, your rent, all your other bills and insurances and recurring purchases. Checking accounts are not very good for saving. They typically offer very low interest rates, which means the bank will pay you basically nothing for holding on to cash for you in a checking account. Since the US dollar is constantly being inflated, that means that money in a checking account is constantly losing value. So if you have money in your checking account, make sure it's a small balance and you're sending all your money elsewhere to go work harder. Not to mention, saving up money in a checking account is going to be difficult for most people because what happens is you have one pile of money and you might have two different purposes for it. If you are trying to save for a vacation or save a down payment for a house in the same account that's hooked up to your debit card that you constantly pay your rent and your groceries and your meals out to eat with, you're gonna have a very tough time telling which amount of that one pile of money is supposed to be for groceries and which is for the down payment on your first house. You've got to have different places to keep your money for different purposes so that you can keep better track of your goals and how you're doing. Because of a problem similar to this, I actually have two checking accounts. I have one that pays my monthly bills, rent, electricity, any subscriptions, insurances. I pay those out of one checking account, and then my other checking account is used for my variable expenses. So groceries change, fun experiences change, gas constantly changes. So because of that, because I can't tell in one pile of money what I'm supposed to pay rent with and what I'm supposed to pay my meals out to eat with, I actually use two checking accounts for my different kinds of spending in order to keep better track of them. So with this in mind, how much should be in your checking account at any given time? A decent rule of thumb is that at least 1 month's worth of expenses should be in your checking account at all times. This is a nice little buffer amount, and it basically means that your next 1 month of living is prepaid. You already have all of that money in your checking account. For many of us though, that may be aspirational. And I'll be honest, my checking account does not have that much money in it. But I don't like seeing my checking account go down to zero. That makes me uncomfortable, and it should probably make you uncomfortable too. If you're trying to run your checking account as tight as possible, it's very likely that a surprise bill or some unforeseen expense will be taken out of that checking account and you will overdraft from that account. Now, whether or not you have an overdraft fee occur or not, it's still kind of a failure of your financial system. One way or another, an account was charged more than it could bear. So for my checking account, what I've started to do to build up more money in that checking account is round up my expenses that I plan to come out of that checking account. Just rounding up by $5 or $10 here on some of my larger bills doesn't feel like I'm losing money, but it does slowly help me build up a larger cash balance in my checking account. So if the next 2 weeks of expenses was, for example, $1,000, I might leave $1,015 in my checking account. And if I do this over and over again every 2 weeks, eventually I'll start to have a nice little pad of cash in my checking account that means I can withstand any surprise bills or expenses that get drawn from that checking account. Slowly, with this strategy, I'll reach that 1 month of expenses saved in my checking account. This can be a really great way to build up money in your checking account without feeling like you're sacrificing a lot. Beyond whatever that minimum balance is in your checking account, the only additional money that should be in your checking account is money that is short term. It's destined to be spent or sent somewhere else in the near future. So in the first couple days after your paycheck lands, before it's been distributed or before your bills have been paid, there's gonna be more than that 1 month of expenses in your checking account. You know those heart rate monitors where they go peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys? That's probably what your checking account should look like. Money in, money spent and sent out away from the checking account. Money in, money spent and sent away from the checking account. Money in, money leaves. Money in, money leaves. That's what your checking account balance will probably look like over time. That's certainly what mine looks like. Any checking account that you decide to use should be free, and all the services that you use with that checking account should be free as well. No monthly fees, no minimum deposits, and free and easy transfers of money whenever you need it. That's what you should be looking for. You should not have to pay a bank in order to have the privilege of holding a checking account. It is your money. You should be able to access it for free. If you go on to many big banks' websites, they make you have some kind of minimum deposit or pay a monthly fee if you don't have that just to have a checking account with them. They are using your money and deploying it elsewhere and making money off of you. You should not have to pay on top of that to have a checking account. Good checking accounts offer free and fast transfers, and they don't limit the number of transactions that you can make. They should offer a debit card, checks, cashier's checks, and online deposits of checks, as well as ATM deposits and withdrawals of cash, all for free. If you're a cash person, this bank and this checking account that you choose should make it really easy for you to get access to cash at ATMs and have a large branch of ATMs. There are some checking accounts that will offer ATM reimbursement even if you don't use their ATM. That's a great feature if you're a cash person and you like a checking account, but they don't happen to have a lot of ATMs that you can use. The bottom line with a checking account is think of any way that you might want to access or deposit or move your money around, and a checking account should enable that and make it as easy as possible at every step. The interest rate on your checking account is not super important since you will not be keeping high amounts of cash in it, but if you want, you can interest rate shop. It just shouldn't probably be your first priority. Remember, any fees that you pay to have a checking account will quickly wipe out that interest that you're making on the account. Some people really like having overdraft protection on their accounts, and for good reason. If you can get it for free, absolutely go for it. And many free great checking accounts do have overdraft protection. What I do not want to mislead people in, overdraft protection is not some kind of planning tool or something that we want to find ourselves relying on. Your financial system should work on its own, and you shouldn't be overdrafting on a regular basis. If you find yourself regularly overdrafting, there is something wrong with your financial system. I hold no judgment for anybody who's ever overdrafted. I've overdrafted or had my card declined many times myself, but you must eventually figure out a way to not rely on your overdraft protection. As a financial adult, you need to figure out ways to make the math and make the money work. And especially if you're married or you're in a relationship where you share money, you need to figure out how to communicate regularly and build systems that avoid mishandling your finances and causing things like overdrafts. Because of this philosophy, I do think it is equally acceptable that if you find a checking account you like, but it doesn't have overdraft protection, I would never tell you not to pick that account simply because it doesn't have that feature. Now, charging a fee for overdrafting, I get it. It's kind of like really punching me while I'm down. But I think once you get a job and you have a consistent, steady income and regular expenses, I think it's reasonable to expect that at some point in your adult life, you leave overdrafting behind. Should your checking account be held by a bank that has physical bank buildings and locations, or is it okay to have an online checking account with a bank that has few to no actual physical locations where you can go visit that bank? If you read I Will Teach You to Be Rich, that's a book by Ramit Sethi, you'll see that the answer for many people is to have both. Like Ramit, I use an online checking account and I have a checking account at a local bank. My checking account has no fees, no minimums, free bill pay, an ATM card. It reimburses me on all my ATM withdrawals, and it's super easy to use. That online account is a no-brainer. But it's also nice to have a physical bank where I could go deposit cash or deposit checks. Because occasionally when you deposit a check online, that check does void for some reason. It can't read right, or the picture was good, but it wasn't good enough. And then I've had to go back to the person and ask them to write that check for me again, which is a little embarrassing. My online checking account, there's no way for me to load it up with cash. If I don't have it in a check, it stands no chance to get into that bank account. With the physical bank location, we do get access to an ATM network of over 30,000 ATMs, but it only took me 2 Google searches to find somewhere where I would not have been able to get cash from that account. Whereas with my online checking account, since it reimburses my ATM use anywhere, I get free ATM use everywhere. So that is a downside to having a physical bank. It doesn't travel as well with you as some kind of ATM reimbursement checking account. And that's the online checking account reimburses all my ATM use. My physical bank branch does not. I have to use one that's in their network. To summarize, there's nothing inherently wrong with a brick and mortar bank. Just make sure everything you do there is free and it's not costing you extra money to have a bank account with them. So what are the best checking accounts that you can get? If you do a Google search of this, what you'll typically find is a list of checking accounts that pay high interest rates. But that's different than a list of checking accounts that mentions all the features that I've gone over. So here's a short curated list of some checking accounts that should meet these criteria and work well for you. There's no money to be made for me by recommending these to you. I don't have any relationships with these banks. This is just a topic I enjoy researching and wanted to put a video together about. The Schwab Investor checking account is one of the most popular checking accounts. I got this recommendation from I Will Teach You to Be Rich, and it's still the checking account that I use multiple years later after reading that book. There's no ATM fees. I get reimbursed anytime I use an ATM, and everything else about the account is super easy to use. It's all free, and it's all fast, and it's super simple to use. The only time I've ever paid a fee associated with this bank account is when I chose to overnight a cashier's check. I needed it for a rent security deposit, and I hadn't foreseen exactly how important the timing that would be, so I paid to have it overnighted. You do have to open a brokerage account in order to get this checking account, but there's no requirement to use the brokerage account. I've never used mine, and it's never posed a problem. I just have to know which account I'm looking at because one of those accounts always has a balance of 0. Capital One 360. This is my other secondary checking account that I pay all my variable expenses out of. But this would be the account where I actually use the debit card, whereas the other one is all automated bill pay. This is what I swipe at grocery stores and gas stations when I'm hoping to use my debit card. This is also what I typically pay my credit card off with. No concerns whatsoever, and it's super fast and simple to transfer money in between accounts, especially if you have a Capital One savings account. These pair super well. SoFi, I don't have any experience with a SoFi checking account, but it appears that they are very highly recommended based off of my research. The same is true of the Amex checking account, the American Express one. I opened this just to get the sign up bonus of like $100 or something. I've never actually used it, but again, for my research, this one turned up a lot, which I find interesting. I would not expect a credit card company to have a highly ranked checking account, but they do. Ally also offers an online checking account. They advertise it a lot. I noticed that when I log into my high yield savings account. Reading up on it, it seems pretty great. This could likely replace my Schwab account and work just as good. It would also probably pair super well with the high yield savings account I have with them. The Fidelity Cash Management account. This is a really tremendous account, although I would suggest you Google it and research it before deciding to use it. This is actually an account that I use as my high yield savings account. There are 2 different ways to use this account. It has an FDIC insured core position, which pays like 2.7% interest, and that means your money's guaranteed up to like $250,000. But what it also has is it allows you to access a core position called SPAX, S-P-A-X-X, which is a money market fund that you can buy into. And the money market account pays really competitive interest rates. Mine was around 5% for most of the year of 2024. What's crazy is that this account comes with a debit card and does not limit the number of transactions you can make with a debit card. There's no reason this couldn't make a checking account for you, whether you're using the FDIC insured option or the money market account option. Now, occasionally money market funds under extreme stress and financial turmoil will break the buck, which means that whatever dollar amount you had in there now becomes worth 97 cents on the dollar, 98 cents on the dollar. Those would be some recent examples from the last time the buck was broken. That very, very rarely happens though. So a money market position is not exactly risk-free, but it's very close to it, especially if you had been accruing interest for a super long time. Taking a hit of 97 or 98 cents on the dollar would not actually put you behind compared to any other checking account. But if that makes you nervous at all, use the 2-ish% interest option. Use that debit card and that would make a great checking account. I use it as a high yield savings since I already like all my other accounts, but it's a very interesting option to use as a checking account. The money market position often outpaces anything that I can get with Capital One or Ally for their high yield savings account. This account also pairs well with the Fidelity Cashback card. I get 2% cash back as long as I deposit the rewards into a Fidelity account. If you're a Wells Fargo fan, this is about to be a long segment of the video. So I'm reading the details here of the Wells Fargo Everyday Checking. $10 monthly service fee if you don't keep a $500 minimum daily balance or don't receive a $500 a month total in qualifying electronic deposits. It also has a minimum of a $25 opening deposit. $35 overdraft fee. You can at least turn your card into a do not overdraft card where it would decline, which is nice. $3 on US ATMs and $5 on international ATM withdrawals. So they don't get reimbursed like my Schwab account. $10 per cashier's check. That's insane. Wells Fargo loves to try and trick people into staying with them. I don't know why you would. I had an account as a kid that was free, but once you turn a certain age, it's no longer free to have a checking account with Wells Fargo. I didn't realize this. I almost got swindled into opening a joint checking account with them. Me and my wife would have to keep minimum balances or deposits going into there, which imagine you lose your job and so you no longer have your deposits coming in and then your bank account starts charging you their minimum fee to have a checking account. Like they're just hitting you while you're down. You overdraft and that costs money and then you need to pull cash out of an ATM. Like the broker you get, the harder it's going to be to have a checking account at Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo's next step up in checking accounts is paying $5 a month to avoid overdraft fees, instead of just offering it for free like everybody else. We're not done with Wells Fargo. The Wells Fargo Prime Checking, it's an interest-bearing checking account. For $25 a month, you can receive 0.01% interest on your balance. 0.01%. They can barely advertise this as interest-bearing. This is a rounding error amount of interest. 0.01%. 0.0001 is that decimal number. In other words, if your account balance is $3 million, you will break even on your account on a monthly basis. However, they waive that fee if you have over $20,000 in your account. You will earn more money in interest by having $1 in your Schwab account than you will having $19,999 in a Wells Fargo checking account. That's crazy. They're just making money off you left and right. The Premier checking account is $35 a month. It has the same APY, 0.01%. You need 4.2 million in order to make $35 a month in interest. However, again, they waive the fee if you have $250,000 in the account. Also, Bank of America and Wells Fargo both ask for my zip code before telling me about the checking account option. That seems fishy. Same way like AutoZone asks for your zip code before they'll show you the store, because the prices are different in each store based on zip code, which is insane also. I think that's true. Likewise, I went on Bank of America's website, and even more hoops to jump through and things that you have to do in order just to have the privilege of having a checking account with them. It's ridiculous. Big banks love to make more money off you on every corner. Little maintenance fees, little overdraft fees, account minimum, transfer minimums. It's all to make sure that they get more money and make more money off of you. Thank you so much for watching. That is everything that I know and can think of to tell you about checking accounts. Let me know if you have any questions, and thank you so much for watching.